what's up? This is the Go Long Podcast. I'm Tyler Dunn here with Jim Monis. There were 8, Jim, and then there were 4. Wish I had some John Facenda NFL films. Man, that was I used to have that album in high school. We'd play it before our fantasy football drafts. I mean,
yeah,
great jams.
Good. It was good.
But yeah, there was a lot of drama. This weekend. Maybe the best weekend, one of the best football weekends in our lifetime.
It's what's crazy is how, well, first, before we get into too much, because I just thought of this, seeing you sip. What are you sipping on?
I'm glad you remember. We cannot forget.
No, we don't.
Grounded Imperial Stout. Oh no.
You're sticking
Hamburg Brewing Company 10.0.
Well, so I'm going to have to go. They just put on their Instagram that they're putting out this citrus wheat beer they're going to drop it on Friday.
Ooh.
And yeah, I want to try that citrus wheat. And they're saying they're selling it for like this time of year. It's like a good, cold weather type beer. So that one got I can't wait to try it. But yes, speaking of them, they got me through the weekend. Hamburg Brew. Frosty and I had plenty. Frosty was my only friend after that Bills game because I was not in the mood to talk to anybody, and not because I love the Bills, because I love my bets.
Yes.
So anyway, but yes, great weekend. Saturday was just like jaw dropping. Where, wow, Burrow did it. Here's jaw dropping, and here's where I have to just own up to being completely wrong on everything I said going into the weekend. I really thought having a week off mattered. I used to think having a week off and playing at home mattered. Tennessee and Green Bay, I got nothing. Did that shock you too? I mean, were you shocked how bad the teams that had coming off a bye week at home? That shocked me.
It did, but I will admit, after we recorded the podcast, Bob McGinn, the Ty and Bob pod that we've been putting on this feed as well, so hopefully people are able to check it out. He called it to a T, San Francisco. I mean, he called exactly the kind of game it would be, that special teams could cost Green Bay, that Deebo Samuel would make the play at the big moment, that Nick Bosa would be a problem, George Kittle. I mean, they were built for those conditions. Green Bay wasn't built for those conditions, and
that's
Aaron Rodgers was apathetic to the competition. He just didn't really want to be there.
Amazing. He never had that look about him. Even on that, I know you guys probably talked like the Mercedes Lewis fumble to me changed the whole game. Everything was fine. If you bet on Green Bay, everything seemed fine. Go right down the field, score. Garoppolo didn't look like he like I've said, if you would have told me before the game that the 49ers were only going to score 13 points, I don't know how much I would have bet on I would have bet as much as I could have on Green Bay. 13 points and you won. I can't believe it. That's, to me, is just Aaron. There's nothing to say. Once again, I've defended Aaron Rodgers. I can't.
And it's a little subtle, but I think that the assistant to the regional manager version of Aaron Rodgers came back to bite Green Bay in a sense, because their special teams are, atrocious, the worst in the NFL. Atrocious. And they just kind of write it off and say, we just want to get by, get break even, But look at these. I mean, Randall Cobb, you bring him in. He made a couple plays during the year, but did absolutely nothing in this game. He plays small. He's slow. He's old. He's out wide on a play late where that cornerback is, as Bob explained, he's just going to squat on that route. That could have been a pick. I mean, right there.
But he's not. They're not
running by anybody. Mercedes Lewis. I mean, what did Rodgers call him? Big dog. They're buddies. Why is he on the roster? He doesn't play special teams. He's pretty worthless at this point when it comes to substantive football. Who else? I mean, they've signed a bunch of guys. Jalen Smith was there for a cup of coffee. Whitney Merciless. All these guys that don't give you anything on special teams. It matters. When you're putting a team together with Doug Whaley, I mean, there were
Well,
ups and downs, but I'm sure like there were moments you're thinking this player's going to give us something in this third of the
I mean,
game. It is important.
you draft guys knowing that you draft guys knowing they probably won't start for you, but could be good special teamers. That Tanner Vallejo that we took in that last draft still playing. We never thought he'd be, and he's not a starter, but he's such a good backup linebacker and a good teamer. I mean, you can't, those are valuable picks. Valuable picks. So
You've got to find core special teams players where that's their main job. Like anything. Like if you're putting out 11 guys and they're more focused on their main job at running back, receiver, corner, like how much time are they really putting into special teams? Think about your own life. If you've got a job and you're doing something kind of on the side, like that thing that's on the side, how much of your energy is really going toward that thing on the side?
the special teams coordinator for Green Bay, I used to, I know him a little bit. He used to coach at like South Carolina State. He played it there. I think he's a graduate from the Citadel, but when I used to scout down there and live down there, I used to deal with him. And he always was a really impressive coach to talk to. So I'm not surprised that he made his, I'm not surprised he made it and got his opportunity, but
Mo Drayton, correct?
yeah, Mo Drayton. I think I'm shocked he didn't get fired yet.
I don't even know if it's his fault, right?
I don't either. I don't either, but that's just how it works, right? I mean, I'm
It
not
does.
even
He'll be fired, but it's like he's working with what's given to him too. They're just not prioritizing it as an organization at all. That's everybody. And I don't know how you make this mistake. I mean, there's so many people in that building that were there in Seattle in January of 2015 for Brandon Bostic and the fake field goal before that with John Ryan. 2 plays that how do you not prioritize special teams after something like that? And
it is such a try. I will tell you this, in New Orleans, it was like painful in draft meetings because the special teams coordinator and their assistant would come in we go through all the returners, long snappers, kickers, punters. And for scouts, for us, it's kind of miserable. I mean, it's like we're into it, but we're not. I mean, we're like, yeah, these guys were so into it. And you're just like, really? Like, but it hit me. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this really is like, these guys, like the detail that these coaches knew about some of these players, like the kicking game, like we always joke about with scouts, like every report's the same. He's big leg, inconsistent. You could write that for every college punter, big leg, inconsistent. But these guys, man, when you see them and I get it. Like I used to kind of as a scout, like whatever, it woke me up in New Orleans. Like, okay, I had to have my shit together in these meetings, and it made me a better scout. And then when we got to the Bills, Danny Crossman was our special teams coordinator. I thought he was outstanding as far as an evaluator. And the time he put into it, like it just, I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, it needs to be, and it needs to come from the head coach. Because if the head coach isn't pushing it, it's going to fall behind. Because it's going to, like the scouts, like then they're like, hey, if he's not concerned, I'm not concerned.
yeah, it's really interesting too, because I think if you're a team like New Orleans, Green Bay, Tampa, if you've got a really, really good quarterback, I think you can kind of lean into that. And because that really, really good quarterback can make other problems just kind of disappear. You just don't think about you probably just don't think about special teams as much. Even in Buffalo, I mean, with, how they kind of went through returners and whatnot. But, if you don't have a quarterback, like even the years where Chicago, Bob made this point, where they don't have a quarterback for a generation, their special teams are really good because they're like, all right, well, we don't have a quarterback, so we're going to focus in on what we can do. And their special teams are really good. They're forcing turnovers on defense, and they snuck up. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl in 2006.
Yeah.
They had a 13-3 season in like 02 or
They
03.
beat us in the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
I was with New Orleans. We had no business being there.
It's, why can't it be both, right? I mean, so many of these teams employ so many coaches.
Don't even.
It's. But anyways, why don't we talked so much about the Packers and the 49ers.
Yeah, you guys beat that into the ground. I'm with you on that.
Plus, Aaron Rodgers is going to vacillate for the next who knows how many weeks, so we'll have time to talk about that.
I can't even defend him anymore. I'm just like,
well,
and then here's the other thing from the weekend. So Saturday was just like, wow, that was awesome. Like both 1 seeds at home lose, crazy. And then Sunday happens. It made the football on Saturday look like a different level. The football on Sunday was a different level, even than
really
Saturday was. Because if you think about it, the 49ers didn't really do anything. They didn't really play that well. I mean, it's not like they played well. Green Bay didn't play well. It was a good game,
right,
to watch, competitive, but it wasn't like they played that well. The Bengals got to stop. They can't protect Burrow. Tannehill's throwing interceptions. It wasn't like that was some great performance game not Burrow played his ass off fighting through the pass rush, but it wasn't some like, wow, they just put on a show. Sunday was a show. All the teams.
Yeah. Bob would disagree. He did not like the end of the Bills-Chiefs game and said that just goes to show there's too much offense, too much back and forth. It's too easy to score in a short amount of time because you can't affect the quarterback in today's game. He basically said, if you're a good quarterback, of course you're going to score in a few plays. Because when he started making this point, I thought it was an electric, entertaining, all-time kind of game.
All-time game, no doubt
about it.
But I see what he's saying.
But he made a good point, right? Like, you wouldn't see that in 1998. Like, it's not.
That's why I always say I don't really talk about much other than quarterbacks because it's really all that matters.
I know. It's crazy. Like what you thought was a good passer rating in the 90s would be a terrible passer rating today.
Right.
Like, you better be in the 120s. So Bills Chiefs. I don't even know where you want to start. What was your takeaway?
I don't either. I
anger war.
I get the hurt. I get the hurt from being here. I think where we should go with this is where we want to go with the coaching part of this. We definitely do not need to talk about Josh Allen. What else? What can you say? Like,
he's unbelievable. Yeah.
He's unbelievable. I mean, it's always fun for you and like, we started this podcast and we started this whole go long with and Josh he didn't really prove himself yet. This is, before like we were kind of like on the fence with him. I was for sure, where I was like, I don't know if he's going to make it. Like, I don't know if he's the guy. And then last year, obviously he proved it. He took a step. There's really there's nothing he can't do. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
Throwing, running. Stephon Diggs is invisible and it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
This goes to Gabe Davis.
How?
He's seeing the field. He's got the arm strength. I love the running. I mean, we'll see where he's at, 5, 6, 7 years from now. But right now, why would you hold him back?
The fourth down throws. I mean, I don't know. I still can't believe it. I like, that's one of those. I was telling, I did Mike Lindsay's his podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah. He was not happy.
Love Mike.
I do. I love that.
Everybody should check it out. He does a fantastic job.
He is really good. And, but I told him that this exact scenario, and we talked about, this was when I was with the Saints and we lost to the 49ers like that. We talked about that game. It was in the same round where if we won that game, we were going to host in New Orleans because the Giants upset Green Bay. And we would have, just like the Bengals upset 10, and we were like, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, we are that good. Like, if we win this game, we're going to win the Super Bowl. And we don't even get to the championship game. And I think that's the Bills. I mean, I think they win that game. They're thinking we're going to win this thing. Like, we just beat the best team.
That is
Wow.
the perfect comparison. And you know why else I like that comparison? It's, you know, I don't want to sound all cynical, but there are a lot of people who think Mahomes and Allen are just going to be playing in these playoff games every year, and that Josh Allen and the Bills are going to be Super Bowl contenders every year. We just got done talking about Aaron Rodgers. You know, he hasn't been to a Super Bowl in 11 years. So nothing is guaranteed. And I think that that's why it really pays to put this game underneath the microscope and try to figure out what went wrong. We're not going to get answers at press conferences, clearly.
That was great. I didn't listen to it, but I read your, yeah.
Well, it's just, look, I get, part of me gets it where, first of all, you know what you're dealing with. You know Sean McDermott. You interviewed Sean
That's why I
McDermott. You helped
didn't,
him get
that's
the
why I
job.
didn't,
So
that's why I didn't listen to it.
right.
I already knew what was coming. Nothing.
Right. He's not, but, and that's just fine. That's his prerogative. That's the
That's how he's
image
coached up to
he's
be. That's
going to
how,
project all of that.
yes.
Right. After
Yeah.
Rex Ryan, they wanted the hard swing back to bland and
Bland,
process and accountability and execution. I get it. But there is part of me, Jim, where, you know, and we both live here in Western New York. We both have a lot of friends, a lot of family that, I mean, their self identity is tied to this team. I mean, they get a paycheck, and that paycheck goes right toward the Buffalo Bills. There's going to be a new stadium soon. Guess what? People are going to be paying more money for that stadium. These are the people that show up at the freaking airport, win or lose, which that's another conversation. But I think that you owe these people a little meat on the bone. The people want to know what the hell happened. 13 seconds. I mean, this is an epic law. This is beyond the Music City Miracle. And look, if it was solely a player's fault, completely a play, and you want to protect that player because you don't want to throw him under the bus, I get it. That's admirable. I get it. I have a hard time believing. I have a hard time believing that the coaching staff is 100% in the right on the entire sequence that we saw. And I just don't think that execution with a little smile suffice. I mean, and the reaction I get from fans, you know, I'm a little surprised, Jim. I wrote that story today, and we can get into it if you want later, but that was the lead. I thought fans would be like, oh, you know, great season. I don't care. Let's move on. No, I think by and large, there's a lot of fans that want to know what happened, and they're a little pissed off that they didn't get answers.
I guess, that every right. Everybody has every right to be upset. I mean, as a fan, but so I always think about this. I never was I always wish when I would do the post-draft press conferences and, you just say the same. They're worthless. They really, we laugh, we joke about that. We beat that into the ground. I couldn't believe he was on the board, blah, blah, blah. What if he would have come out and really said, I can't look at the tape. I'm disappointed in myself. What if he just came out and was like, I'm pissed. I'm pissed at myself. I'm pissed at our coaches. And don't even sell the players out. Go ahead and just come out and say how I can't watch the game. I'm sick to my stomach. I don't want to watch football this week. Because you won't. When we lost that game to the 49ers, I promise you, I didn't watch another snap that playoffs. I didn't care who won, nothing, because I was miserable. And they might not either. I mean, I'm going to see those guys. I'm going down to the Senior Bowl next week to cover it for the XFL a little bit. So I'm sure I'll run into some of those guys and I'll be able to catch up with them, but they're going to be miserable. They're not going to be down there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying.
There was some of that. There was some of that emotion.
He did.
Definitely more.
That's what I was going to. So he did give some real emotion and.
Yeah. I don't know. We hear about accountability. We hear about these virtues. If I was a player in that locker room and, the head coach is saying it came down to execution, typically that's code for it's the player's fault. At least it was when I was in Green Bay.
Right.
Very often was. It's like, okay, it was the way the play was executed.
Yeah.
So we don't know. Does that mean that was it not relayed Teeth Farwell, Tyler Bass, Squibbit.
That's
kick
now
out of the end
that is
zone.
there's the pinpoint question. There it is. Like hammer that question, because the blanket statement of the execution, that's a way to not sell out anybody. You said nothing. We could assume it's the players, but we don't know.
So let's just give them a pass there, which, that's taking quite a leap. Say, okay. It wasn't, you've got all the time in the world. Everybody should know what's going on a kickoff there. Like, say something happened there communication wise. Still, Tyreek Hill, what was it, 18 yards? Travis Kelce, 25 yards. You watch the mic'd up NFL films of Travis Kelce, and it's like he's in the backyard. He's just saying, look, if after the Tyreek play, just look, if they play me like this, just take it up the seam. And then really Patrick Mahomes go say, do it, Kels, do it. And it's just pitch and catch. Levi Wallace is trying to keep everything inside. Like, they don't have timeouts. They've got all the timeouts. They don't have to work the sideline. I
thought the game was over. Like, you said there was still too much time. I still didn't think there was enough time. I literally was like, I was already thinking about the whole week in Buffalo. This is going to be the most wild. And I was so happy for everybody. Like, they deserve this. Like, you got your quarterback. You deserve to host an NFC championship. This is how it works. And I'm like, I was not even thinking it was a possibility. So that first play happens. I was like, wait a second. Hold on now. Tighten up a little bit. Don't give them another one. And another one. I almost, honestly didn't even want to watch overtime. I didn't even want to watch overtime. I didn't want to watch it.
I just laughed. That made me think of one of the ex-Giant scouts that I talked to for that story.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to make it clear that he still loves the Giants. Did I say Cowboys? No, Giants.
Giants, yeah.
That he still loves the Giants. And the line he uses, when I watch these games, my asshole still puckers up. I never heard that before.
The only reason I know who it was because I read your story. I know who it was, but yeah.
Okay, so it's an asshole puckers up.
That's an old scout. That's an older veteran scout for sure.
All right. Well, Jim, I wanted to bring this up here. I just pulled it up on ESPN's play-by-play. So the only thing that I thought of when there was
that's what I was going to ask you. What
left?
Yeah.
Was Green Bay, Dallas divisional round 2016, and it was how much time was left for Aaron Rodgers? Oh man, I don't know where the heck it is here. So Aaron Rodgers to Jared Cook,
right?
That iconic throw 2016 that won the game for Green Bay against Dallas. They actually had 35 seconds when they took over. Where are they on their own 25-yard line? It was a touchback too. So you had an incomplete pass, a short one to Ty Montgomery for 17 yards. Aaron Rodgers got sacked for 10. Second 20 incomplete. So it was the 3rd and 20 from their own 32.
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers rolled left, hit Jared Cook. So they actually had a little time though. Like as amazing as that throw was, they had time to fart around and get sacked and have an incomplete pass where the margin for error for Kansas City was non-existent. Like that,
they couldn't take you right. Sacks and incompletions. That wasn't part of the right.
They had the timeouts though.
They had
the timeout, which was huge.
Huge. Which gave them, they could throw over them. It gave them chances to run whatever. Right.
And to me, Jim, that's why this is on Sean McDermott and his defensive coaching staff, because either Levi Wallace was told to do the wrong thing, right? They're telling him to play that far outside, which is
hard to believe.
It's awful coming from a former DB coach and defensive coordinator, and Leslie Frazier, one of the best defensive coaches in the game. Or it just he lined up incorrectly. But to me, that's still on the coaching staff. I mean, you've got the timeouts. You've got the time. It wasn't helter-skelter. You've got a time to go to every single player and say, this is exactly where you need to be. and he
You
out
know,
of
and
position.
Sean
And
did,
let's not forget Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are like defending a touchdown. They're way back.
way back. So Sean did say about how much they practice 2-minute, for all that. And I believe him because I always reference the Saints. That was the biggest difference I saw between like the Saints, and we did it with Marrone too. When I got to Buffalo, because he came from kind of that Coach Payton a little. I used to laugh. I'm like, practice. All they do is practice 2-minute offense, red zone, 2-minute, 4-minute offense, like situational football. The other stuff, running plays, that's like, from the 20 to the 20. That's kind of, I hate to say it, but that's not hard for them. That's not something you have to rep and rep and rep. You need to rep situations. And Sean said they do that. And I believe him because that's his style. He's a detailed guy. Did you think that Sean and Leslie had that deer in headlights look on the sideline? Like, I thought they looked like they didn't know what to do. Spooked.
Yeah.
Like almost like, so do you like this good friend of mine? He told me, I never heard it before, but he had told me this years ago, but he always said, coaches don't win you games, but they can lose you games.
Yeah. I think that that's the case here. And, the 13 seconds are disastrous enough, right? It's hard to even wrap your mind around how Tyreek Hill can catch a short pass and go. Like that, he does that better than maybe anybody in NFL history. Getting the ball and getting in space. Like, just don't let that happen.
I've never
Travis
seen a guy
Kelce, one of the best tight ends of all time. You don't hit him off the line. He gets a free release right up the seam. That's ridiculous. But Jim, I think it goes bigger than this too. I mean, this is a defense that's 5 years in the making for Sean McDermott.
No doubt.
You were a part of it. You talked to him about signing Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde.
No doubt.
It started 2017 or 18?
17 was our last draft.
It was 17, yeah.
For us.
And now into 2021, their defensive line, I don't think many people know this. Matt Fairburn pointed it out to us before the season when he came on the podcast, and it held true, but their defensive line is have it in our story. I believe it makes up 23% of their salary cap. It's the second most in the NFL. The only team that spent more on the D line than Buffalo was Kansas City. And then you put on top of that all of the first and second round picks, Gregory Rousseau, Boogie Basham, Ed Oliver, AJ Epinesa, throw Harrison Phillips in as a third rounder. No team has invested more into the defensive line, into the pass rush than Buffalo. So, okay, they score. You still have overtime. You still have overtime.
You still have a shot.
Like, I get it. The overtime rules stink. Like, every team should have a chance to score. Get one stop. Get one stop. The way you've invested into this defense, that should have been the climax for Sean McDermott's defense. That is the moment. Okay, give up all those yards, give up all those touchdowns, but you make a play when you have to make a play. And it was easy. It was, the little bit of misdirection, a screen, throw to Kelce. I don't know if Patrick Mahomes broke a sweat in overtime. And it's game over. That's on coaching too. I'm sorry, like 5 years in, don't give me the number one ranked defense stuff. They're blowing these bad teams out. Okay.
So
great, but
it's so true.
That's where you're gonna find out about the defense.
Bill's number one ranked defense fucking couldn't stop any Kansas City at all. The whole game. Aaron Rodgers, MVP. Can't get out of the first game of this, 10 points in a playoff game. This football is wild, unpredictable, and that's why it's going to be hard to get back. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. That's why football is crazy. And you're not even factoring in like Lamar Jackson. You don't think Lamar Jackson's going to come back hungry and crazy next year? They're about to extend Harbaugh. Like they're getting ready to make a run. mean? They're getting ready to go. Like Herbert's going to, is Herbert going to take a step? Joe Burrow, has taken a step. We're not talking about just the Chiefs anymore. You're going to have to deal with some serious teams moving forward. There will be no easy games, I guess is what I'm saying. And there really, not that there ever is, but there will be no easy games. Like to get back to get to the AFC Championship is going to be hard. And I think with Josh,
Justin
I do
Herbert.
think,
maybe Aaron Rodgers is in
that's
the
what I'm
AFC
saying.
next
That's
year.
what I said. Yeah. Right. That would be wild. But it's just endless. What? Next year is going to be, I know there's going to be a circus coming with all that, but
yeah,
it's hard. It's just hard.
And then you're going to lose. You lost Joe Shane.
We never made
Brian
it back.
Daboll's interviewing all over the place. He's probably close to getting a job.
And not that the Saints didn't make it back because of all of us, but the same thing happened from our success. Whaley hired me to Buffalo. Ryan Pace went to be the GM in Chicago, took Josh Lucas from the Saints, their top scout, with him. DeJuan
Doug
Jones
went to Syracuse.
He went to Syracuse before he didn't win the Super Bowl with us.
Oh, he didn't. That's right.
I
covered him in 2009. You hadn't won it yet. It was that year.
Yeah.
He just missed out.
I think that's part of that makes he won't talk about private. He's miserable all the time, but that's probably another reason why he's pissed off all the time. But that's what's starting to happen now. Guess what's going to happen? What are we seeing right away with the Bills? Joe Shane gone. Dable probably going with Joe, I guess. Second interview, we'll see. But you're going to see this happening now. Guys are going to start. It's hard. And that's the front office, coaches. But it's going to happen with players too. I mean, you're going to start seeing they're going to do something.
Well, it's going to be harder to sign guys.
That's what I'm saying. It's just good. You're going to see what. Yeah.
Think Stephon Diggs is going to be asking for some money soon. That's coming.
And
that's coming.
And guess what? How did that go? How many points did they just score without even using him? That's a tough, like when you have the right quarterback, now you're in the power position. If you're the Bills, you do your best to keep Diggs at your price. You can't bend over. I hate to say that. Don't say I'm crazy because I love Diggs. But honestly, you can't, at this point, you have to be very strategic with your money because you pay Josh. And Josh is proving that
he deserves it.
And yes. We never had to pay, like in New Orleans, like we didn't have a skill guy in New Orleans like a Diggs. Colston and those guys weren't like true number one wideouts that they all had a certain skill set that Coach Payton.
Devery Henderson and Robert Meacham.
Robert Meacham led our team in touchdowns the year we won the Super Bowl, but Coach Payton used each guy. He had a vision for each guy. But anyway,
let me piggyback off that then, Jim, because the Bills need that vision. And I feel like Daboll in a lot of ways was. I mean, he was there from day one with Josh Allen. Who is that? Is Ken Dorsey ready to be that force behind the scenes?
Because this is why this would be a fascinating hire. So Dorsey, I don't know anything about him, but so is he just going to run? Obviously, I guess he just runs the same offense that's been installed, but it's not like he and Daboll, how long have they ever worked together? A couple of years? Like Dorsey has stuff he wants to do too. So I guess what I'm saying is, and you don't want to rock Josh's world. You don't want to bring somebody in and put in a whole new system. Yeah. So as long as Dorsey will be the guy, and hopefully they're going to keep, I would think, everything the same. With obviously with other stuff, but you can't bring in another guy. Like,
right. They better hope Dorsey
otherwise Josh made all this progress. You can't ask him to learn a new style of offense.
I mean, I think they want as much continuity as possible.
Agreed.
I don't know. Tell me if I'm being too harsh. I fear for the Bills in that the head coach and his tendencies get in the way of this meteoric rise of a quarterback. I mean, Josh Allen is unlike anything we've seen in his skill set. So why are you still punting, 4th and 1 from your 34? I get it. Backed up a little bit. That possession matters. That possession matters.
I agree. I
thought
the same.
And Kansas City scored, I
Right
forget if
away.
it was a long drive or the short. They scored 4th and 4 from their whatever it was, 48, something like that. You punted. So you wimp out on 2 punts, and they both led the Chief touchdowns. The Chiefs had one of those punts. But they weren't perfect. They had one of those, and they had the weird Blake Bell play. But like those 2 concessions by Sean McDermott to punt when you've got 6'5", 250 Josh Allen that does whatever the hell he wants. 250 might be a little heavy.
I feel like he gets heavier by the week to make the people like it. Like I agree. I think he's
7'10", 472. You got to use that on 4th and 1.
It's getting that point. I mean, I know for a fact Cam Newton, only because I scouted him. I witnessed the 6'6", 250, and I saw all that. And I think Josh looks. He's in that range. But anyway,
is Sean holding him back?
Okay, so here's where I was going. He is officially now. It's hard. This is when the pressure's on you as a head coach. When you have the quarterback that everybody knows is the right quarterback and capable of winning a Super Bowl, now it's on you. I always think about the Chicago Bulls with Doug Collins, and then Phil Jackson comes in, and it's hard to coach like the greatest players. It really is. It's not easy. People I think obviously any coach is going to want that challenge, but it's not easy. There's pressure involved, and it is going to be. It's hard, man. The expectations. I keep thinking, who's going to care about like the regular? I said it last year. I didn't think people would care about the Bills' regular season, but it was the first year back from COVID, and who cares about the regular season?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't, but it's going to matter to other teams more because they're still fighting to get to the, they're not there yet. It's hard, man. When your expectations are the Super Bowl, it's hard. You can get caught because
I love that comparison. There's only one Michael Jordan, obviously, but they won games. They made the playoffs with Doug Collins. There was a lot of good there.
They were knocking on doors, right?
Right. I mean, we're not advocating for, a coach that has done what he's done to get fired by any means.
No.
But he's done enough that kind of makes you raise your eyebrows and think, that's strange. You did that when you have Josh Allen? That's odd. And there's been a lot of those moments. So that's why I say Ken Dorsey, he might instantly become the most important staff member on that masthead. And he probably does have a great relationship with Josh Allen. It sure seems like it. So maybe that's kind of baked into everything.
Yeah, I know. It's like I can't think about it. Like I put myself back. I keep thinking about that year with the Saints, and it's like I couldn't. I was done. No, I no more watching football, and I get it. That's hard. It's that hard.
Let's talk about teams that are still in it, then, huh? Let's do it.
Should be a good weekend.
Cincinnati.
Yep.
Kansas City.
Is there any way?
Yes.
I like that answer.
I definitely think. I mean, they beat them. They beat them a few weeks ago.
I know, but I know. I'm to the point where it's like I don't even know if regular season ever matters. But
I hear you there. I'm
can
not keep up in that kind of game.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I don't like that they lost that D tackle Ojanobi. I like him. We talked about that. I mean, but it's not like Kansas City. I mean, I don't know how you beat them. Like it's going to take a turnover, because Mahomes will, you still might get one or two. You could get him into a weird, maybe. I don't know how else you beat him.
Well, let's just say I may have talked to somebody on that Bengals defense this week who's confident that they may be able to make that play, Jim. So
Good,
that'll be the tease for the day on this podcast. But
good one.
I do think Kansas City wins. I think it's going to be a game, though. I think that
Okay.
Cincinnati's going to make them sweat. And I wouldn't be
Okay.
surprised if they won and went to the Super Bowl because I'm a Burrow believer. You're a Burrow believer.
Burrow, I just love him. It's just,
I mean,
how do you
that
not love him?
magic he has with Jamar Chase is.
You know what's so great about Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, and I'm not going to say it about your favorite quarterback, is they are awesome after a loss. They're awesome after a win. When they talk in the press conferences, I just love they handle every situation correctly. You know,
Totally.
and you look at Mr. Drama walking around with 10 points and I'm really, these young quarterbacks, man.
He's the victim, Jim. He's the victim. People were rooting against him this weekend.
It's almost like you feel bad, right? It's almost like he wants you to feel bad for him or something.
Yeah, he cares deeply what people think of him.
But I wanted to stay with like those guys are just not only are the face of the franchise, they can handle it. That it's who you want representing you. You know, if you're an owner, it's really amazing. So Burrow, Mahomes, God. I mean, it should be. It's not like Kansas City's defense is there. We've exposed them all year. I don't want to hear that crap about that they were playing better. They were playing some bad teams.
That's why I think Cincinnati has a chance. They're going to move the ball. I don't
disagree with you. They're going to. It's going to. I think it'll have to be a shootout, right? I mean,
yeah. Mixon will make you tackle.
Yeah,
it'll be a shootout, and it will come down to the why. I mean, it's like all these games. So many of them just come down to who has the ball last, and
then the Niners and Rams. I mean, to play for two teams to know each other so well,
yeah,
is fast. It's the best. It's the best.
Are you leaning one way or the other there?
I'm leaning Rams. I just like the way they're pressuring the quarterback, and I don't like what they did. I don't like that collapse they had in the second half. I don't know. Here's the question I would have for you. What do you do with Cam Akers if you're the Rams? How do you do it? Do you give him? I mean, you have to give him. You can't. You could shut him down. There are coaches that would shut him down.
Have you read or heard anything? Not that they would tip their hand, but have they come out and forcefully defended him?
I think about that has to be a serious discussion.
Right.
That's a fatal flaw. You can't do that.
And Sony Michel is good enough to get you 100 yards.
And that's the problem. It's like, I guess you don't want to do that because you'll never probably get his. You probably lose him forever if you don't let him try again. You know.
That's a really good point, and he's a first-round pick.
That's what I'm saying. He deserves. He's earned the right to have another. I'm not saying you should bench him, but I'm telling you, that was unacceptable.
Yeah,
that was unacceptable.
I mean, they almost gave the game away, and Tom Brady did Tom Brady things, and I mean, if he has one, then you have to pull him, right? Like if he has one fumble, then there's the bench.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Sean McVay said he has tremendous faith and confidence in Cam Akers.
I think that's the way to handle it. Yeah, I think that's the right way to do it.
Wouldn't it be funny though if a coach just came out and just said, "I have lost all faith in Cam Akers.
We're going to shut down Cam Akers.
I regret the pick. We are moving on."
Wouldn't it? You know that old Jim Carrey movie, Liar Liar, when he couldn't lie anymore. Wouldn't that be great if you could do that for coaches' press conferences?
That would be amazing. Imagine Sean, like if you do a 180.
What would the Jim Liar Liar press conference be with Sean McDermott this week? Leslie Frazier called a horrible call. I disagreed with it. You know, what would it be? Levi Wallace totally blew that. He won't be on the team next year. I can promise you that. I just would.
You know what though? That raises a good point. I wanted to bring this up on that discussion, Jim. So obviously that's the retort to people defending not just Sean McDermott, any coach who stands there and spews cliches. Is
Any
what do
coach,
you
right?
want him to say? Do you want him to just throw people under the bus? Because if you throw people under the bus, then you look bad and that
You can't
player's
do that.
hurt and
Can't throw
you
players under
can't
the
do that.
bus.
But I'll just say that I had a conversation with a former head coach recently, and we were talking, and at one point, like this is a coach whose reputation was kind of cemented by game mismanagement.
Okay.
And he took me through like all of these specific plays where if I said them here, people would remember them
I
and
know.
say, oh, yeah, the head coach. Yeah, what a buffoon. And it wasn't his fault in every situation. I mean, this is his word, obviously, but it's too detailed for it to, it's too detailed for him to be lying. Like when he told me the aftermath of that decision. And I'm just thinking, like, man, okay, I get it. Like he took the blame for every single one when it wasn't his fault at all. But then he just gets fired. Like, great. Like you covered for your assistants and your players. Well, you got fired. Probably won't get hired again. Maybe or you have to work your way up to that point again. And that's the case for all these guys. I think it just pays to be honest overall. Like if there's the head coach up there that's brutally honest and authentic day in and day out, and that means they're self-deprecating. That means that when they do screw up, they're talking about it. So when that moment comes up in a playoff game, a big game, and it is somebody else's fault, it's not like you have to, put it the way you just put it and say, "Oh, Levi Wallace." But you could like be honest to an extent. You could be honest. You have to completely fall on the sword. I don't know. I guess it's just the media person in me that wants transparency and honesty. But beyond that, I do think like the fans and the constituents, the patrons that are spending insane amounts of money on tickets.
Good point.
When a game like this goes down the way it went down,
yeah,
like they deserve more than what they got.
I don't disagree. I don't have a good answer for that because I always respected Sean Payton. Never did it. Sean Payton's press conferences, I can't remember him ever selling a player out, but I never thought of him as boring. He would have a way to like, I don't know if that makes sense, but he could tell you about a play, but not sell a player out. I always felt like, or a game or whatever. He never, but Andy Reid is boring. Sean McDermott, boring. Where I don't feel like they give you anything. Like Sean Payton will give you stuff, but he won't sell a player out. And he should. Yeah.
Who do you think does it best? Would Payton be right up there for you?
I'm having some nostalgia this week with him stepping down.
Yeah.
And he talked about that 2006 draft setting the foundation with Jyrie Evans, Roman Harper, part of our Go Long peoples. And it just made me think about, I actually got my Super Bowl ring out the other day after he did it and just looked at it. And I was like, it just felt like, thank you, coach. Like, thank you, Drew Brees. Thank you, Coach Payton. Like, but I guess it's hard for me not to say a lot of good things about him. It's almost not fair for me. Mike Tomlin is a good press conference, I think.
Mm-hmm. He's somebody that will be honest too.
I think he is in a good way.
Right.
I like Tomlin, Payton. Who am I missing?
Oh, Joe Judge. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Dan Campbell, as
Body's
much as
still
we made,
cold.
he had a good way of being honest in his press conferences. He didn't necessarily.
I like those.
I actually, as much as we were kind of, not you, but I was joking, some of his stuff he said. I liked some things I heard from his press conferences. I don't like what went down with he and Anthony Lynn, because I have a lot of respect for Anthony Lynn as a coach and a person. And maybe it was just too soon for Anthony Lynn after the whole Chargers thing. Maybe it just wasn't a good fit. But once again, to give Campbell credit, and Sean McDermott did that. First year head coach, hired an OC, fired him after the season. Dennison. So give those guys credit. They made that choice for those guys, and as a first-time head coach, and now you have to look at your owner and say, "Hey, no, I messed up."
It's an instinct, and I think
but
the worst thing,
to do it,
the worst thing that you can
them.
do is just say everything is fine right now.
Exactly. That it's, and that's another thing. Not to bring up Coach Payton again, but that was like a draft. But hey, if we took a guy in the third round, whatever, if he's looking bad in preseason, we're not keep, like, he'd say, I don't care what round he was in.
Yeah. Totally.
So,
all right, Super Bowl prediction. Let's hear it.
Mine's boring. Chiefs, Rams.
I'll go Chiefs, Niners rematch.
Fair enough. I'm not gonna sit there and say that nothing will. I'm done being surprised. So,
won't sleep on the Bengals.
are you going to be pulling up your phone FanDuel app?
I was just about to do that. Don't get me addicted to this stuff.
Only if you bet on New Hampshire and Maine, like I did tonight in college basketball. Then I'm going to be worried
James.
about you.
James.
I'm going to be worried about you.
Were you researching both squads during the day to get a good sense?
Here's why. So New Hampshire and Maine played actually last week. And New Hampshire was, this is crazy. New Hampshire was favored by 10. I took them. They got blown out. Favored by 10. Maine blew them out. This is honestly a couple days ago. They're playing again today. I see when I'm looking at the games. And now they're favored. New Hampshire was favored by 13.
Why?
So I didn't ask any questions. I just took them. I said, I basically was like, something is going on. Last I looked, they were blowing Maine out.
And they got blown out the first time?
Blown out a couple days ago by Maine, and they were favored by 10. So you would think the spread would at least come down and say, okay, well, they just lost to them, so we were too high on them. They raise it.
Is there something going on like that we don't know about?
Maddening.
I do like how all of these,
but anyway,
freaking insane how many these apps just are spamming our lives, Jim. Twitter feeds, commercials. And then they always had the little phone number there. Call if you have a problem. Please gamble responsibly. Oh, by the way, here's 50 promotions. And, if you get all these other people to sign up, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Like the Caesars has that deal where if you bet like $100, you get an NBA jersey. Like just.
I saw it.
Like they're trying to get everybody hooked right now that it's legal in New York State. I hope, we were texting about it. And I think you said it ruins lives. Like I pray for people out there that don't know when to stop.
I am wide open that I gamble every day. I love it. I'm also wide open. I would never recommend. I can't ever say good. There's no reason to do it. I can't. It's just a scare. It can be scary. I've been down the scary road with it, so I'm not there.
You want to go down that road with us here at all?
Oh man, that would be. That we could do an episode for the people that want to hear some crazy college gambling stories and booking, being a college bookie. We didn't have the back then. My age is showing. We didn't have apps. We were taking it was a fiasco.
I definitely
nobody had money.
All of this.
Here's the best part. This is how I sum it up. As a college bookie, we didn't have the money to pay if you won. And the people betting didn't have the money to pay us if they won. Nobody had money.
Jeez.
And we're all taking bets. Who had money in college? Nobody. And we're taking bets from guys we know don't have money. And they're putting in the bets with us, knowing we don't have money.
I'm just picturing that Simpsons episode where Homer just puts Maggie on the table and like pushes her to the center. I can see you doing.
Trust me, that would be an episode for all the hardcore. If we ever do that, it would be
I
a
want
good
to
one.
hear these stories, and if you're
So that
listening
might be
right
in the
now and
off
this
season,
interests
off
you,
season.
yeah, off season. But if you're listening now and you want to hear it, tweet at us, let us know, because that would be fun.
I can take you down a road.
Well, fun is relative, but yeah. All right, let's tend to our children, Jim. Great to see you. We'll do it at HBC soon.
Got to.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.